And welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you're ready to go again. Let's pick up now. Let's start with developing questions. Aha. Let's see what that's all about. So, it is important that we look carefully at the reason why we're doing the research in order to produce an aim. What are we trying to do with this research? Could it be that we are talking about figuring out the most popular social media sites? Or in my case here, to identify the type of foods that need to be sold at a tuck shop based on learners' preferences. That's maybe something your principal could think about. And there's many, many other cases in which a research topic can be developed. Once we have our aim, we need to decide on a suitable sample. Now, if you remember back to the definitions, a sample is basically, in a nutshell, a smaller group of people that we actually can do data handling on. Because your population, everyone, sometimes is too big. So you've got to take from the population a piece of them out and deal with them. We call that the sample. Now remember, bias again comes into effect, and we have to select these people carefully to avoid bias. Like I said, bias could be intentional or unintentional. You've just got to be very careful there. All right. The table below is a representation of populations and samples. Study the table and decide whether each of the samples provided is biased or unbiased, not biased. Substantiate your answers. All right, here we go. The population is learners in a school, and in our case, the sample is then just the grade 10 learners. Now, what's the problem here? If you're looking at the whole school, let's say you're taking just a high school, so you've got learners from grade 8 to grade 10, to grade 12. Now, if we just look at the grade 10s, do they represent everyone in the school? No, they don't. So clearly there's a form of bias. We haven't picked the sample correctly. So what we need to do there, to have a better understanding of the school, we'd have to maybe take samples or parts of every grade, boys and girls, and then you'll have a better sample to do analysis with. Let's look at the next example. Learners in Limpopo. So that's a specific province. Now we're looking just at the female learners as our sample. Do you think that's fair? I don't think so. Because what about the boys? What about the male learners? So looking at that now, we've got a definite, again, bias situation, where you've taken just one portion into account and not the other. So to make it fair, you have to have a representation of everyone, boys, of males and females. And finally now, learners' favorite soccer team. Okay, people between 15 and 50 years old. All right, do you think that's a fair representation? Maybe, because you could say that that's more or less the age at which people watch soccer, but what about people that are older than 50 years? Do they also watch soccer? So maybe yes. So is that a fair representation again? Probably not. And that's again where the trick comes into effect. How do we actually pick a sample from the population? And that's often where we need to be very careful. Let's go to the next slide. All right, collecting data. Now we can talk about how data is actually collected. Let's look at that one. There are three methods of data collection. First one I talked to you guys about, let's just click there, is observation. This is the method of collecting data by watching and recording results. Just sitting back, looking around and seeing where that comes into effect, what people do, but not necessarily what people do. Maybe sometimes if you're analyzing animals, for example, look at what they're doing, stuff like that. You then get an interview, talking method. This is the method of collecting data done by talking to people and collecting their responses. And the questionnaire is a set of questions that can be used for data collection. So those are the three most common ways in which data is collected. Sometimes you can use more than one, but in a nutshell, that's the most common ones then are used. All right, let's look at some examples. It says, in each of the situations, decide on the best means of data collection. All right. The first scenario we have is the way lions behave in the wild versus the way they behave in captivity. Now remember, we've got three data collection methods. So let's take an interview. Can we interview lions? Can we sit a lion down and interview it? I don't think so. So eliminate that one. A questionnaire, don't think lions can really write, so that one won't work. And what about the last one, an observation? Yeah, perfect. Observation, you sit down with a pen and paper, have a bit of coffee, sit out in the wild, and watch these lions do their thing. I think that would work. So I think the best move here would be an observation. So observation. There we go, observation. Okay, let's look at the next one. A leading beauty company wants to know how satisfied their clients are with their product. All right, so let's look at observation again. Would observing the clients really help in this situation? I really don't think so. I don't think it'll be right for people to sit there and really observe these guys without them knowing, so I don't think that'll work. What about an interview? Sounds okay, but because this is a leading beauty company, I think leading meaning, you know, the top of the range. A lot of clients use their product. So having all of these people sit down and answer questions, I think it's time consuming. I really don't think that one would work. We're left with one more. That would be the questionnaire. I'm sure the questionnaire would work here. Give the person a piece of paper. Let's see if you guys can fill out this for us, please. Rate our service. Are you happy with our products? Is there anything we can do to change? Few questions. Get that back from the clients and then proceed with the protocol. So I think that's a perfect option there, which would be the questionnaire. So questionnaire. All right. Finally, doctors at Feel Better Hospital need to find out their patients' perception of the level of care they received during their treatment process. So what that basically means is the doctors at the particular hospital want to talk to their patients and figure out, are they happy with the service that they received? And again, I think that one, the best option there for us would be the interview. Because then the doctors can chat to them, change their questions, get the best information out of them so they can better the care. So that would be interview. Interview. All right, there we go.